Hello and welcome back to LGBT Artistic Icons. My name is Hanna and this is
Daniela.
We're so excited for today's lesson. It is talking about color significance in Black queer art. So to start, we're gonna do a little refresher on some color theory. Go ahead, Daniela.
Thank you, Hanna. So, quick color theory. There are primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. The primary colors are yellow, blue, and red. The secondary colors are orange, green, and purple. The colors that are across from each other tend to be complementary colors, so like blue and orange or yellow and purple. And then the tertiary colors are the ones that derive from mixing those colors that like complement each other. So color relationships, this you can think about when you're making your projects or just thinking about colors in general. You want to think about how they work together. So analogous means that they are sort of ingredients. So like you see here from red to yellow. Triadic are just the three colors like sort of make like a triangle. The complementary are the ones that are directly across from each other, and then split complementary means they're the two that are next to the ones that are across to each other.
And these are ways to develop your own color scheme. So as we talk about color significance today, I encourage you to think about these color relationships and think about how you can use both significance in what you choose and use these color schemes. So as we talk today, I also encourage you to think about these questions of like, what does color mean to us and how does it transform and emphasize meaning? So in paintings, you can't always put words into the piece, but colors can go a really long way to communicate the emotion or the journey of the piece. So we'll get started with, we'll be highlighting 3 artists today who have really unique and special ways of using color in their art. And we'll start with Beauford Delaney.
So Beauford Delaney was born in Knoxville, Tennessee in 1901. He studied art in Boston and moved to New York in 1929. And then he's based in New York until 1953 when he moved to Paris, and then till his inevitable death at 1979. The painter in the New York art scene. He was around the time of the Harlem Renaissance, and once in Paris, he became a looser, more expressive, and more abstract artist. To Delaney, the color yellow was spiritually significant because it meant redemption, healing, and light. And he associated the color yellow with a sense of internal universe and spirituality. So on the right, you can see his self-portrait. With a lot of, he sort of has like a yellow aura.
Yeah, and throughout his work, yellow was a prominent color in his pieces, but he ultimately started creating works that were of people that he cared about and loved ones, just bathed in yellows. And these were referred to as the yellow portraits. So here are 4 of those. They're all really beautiful to me. All of these people were special to him in some way. Particularly striking to me is on the top right, the portrait of Ella Fitzgerald. She's like almost disappearing into the yellow. And you can see here, even though it was still these similar shades and such, he got to know this color so well that he was able to have such nuanced like hues and such. Like even the one of Imogen Delaney versus the one of Ahmed Bioud, they both have like kind of a greenish background, but those greens by themselves are so different, which I really admire. And so he, after his death, there was an exhibit focusing on these yellow portraits called The Color Yellow, pulling from the title of Alice Walker's novel, The Color Purple. And so for the exhibition, in its accompanying catalog, Art historian Richard J. Powell noted that Delaney's career-long decision to enshrine himself, loved ones, and the art of painting itself in a succession of radiant, joyous, magnificent, and painfully alive shades of yellow attests to his work's greater post-abstract expressionist mission. He sought in his work and throughout his entire life to experience that state of perfect bliss in nature and society, to know that ecstatic feeling of excessive and deliberate joy in life.
So, as mentioned a little before, Alice Walker was an inspiration. Alice Walker was born in 1944 in Eatonton, Georgia, and she studied in Spelman College and Sarah Lawrence College in New York City. She has been based in California since the 80s. Walker coined womanism, describing it as not simply Black feminism, but as a womanist is to feminist, as purple is to lavender. I think that's put in The Search of Our Mother's Gardens, a womanist prose, written in 1983. And then she is a famous author known for her book, The Color Purple, that was published in 1982. And it is set in the early 1900s and follows Celie, a young Black woman, in her journey to self-realization. And then a major character is Shug Avery, who becomes Celie's partner for some time.
And this novel was really groundbreaking. It's over the years was banned in multiple places, multiple times, because it centered this woman. She was realizing herself, coming to her own power, but she was also in a lesbian relationship in the time. So this special use of purple and the symbolism in that comes through in her work in this particular scene when Shug Avery and Celie are walking down a road. And they say, "Nah," she said, "not vain, just wanting to share a good thing. I think it pisses off God if you walk by the color purple in a field somewhere and don't notice it." "What'd it do when it pissed off?" I asked. "Oh, it makes something else. People think pleasing God is all God cares about, but any fool living in the world can see it always trying to please us back." So it's interesting between both Beauford Delaney and Alice Walker that there's these spiritual connotations as well through color. Kind of speaking to how a picture is 1,000 words, a color may be worth even more.
Yeah.
And so finally, the importance of purple is also evident in like our culture. We associate purple with a lot of different meanings. First with royalty, because it used to be a really difficult dye to make. And during the Lavender Scare, which if you've heard of the Red Scare, was similar. Just for reference, the Red Scare was during McCarthyism, when people were identified as suspected communists and so blacklisted. They were removed from their jobs, their lives, everything. And so Lavender Scare was similar. People who were presumed to be too effeminate, a little too weird, just were labeled to be gay, and so referred to euphemistically as lavender lads. And with the Lavender Scare, much like the Red Scare, anyone who was identified in this way, their life was completely dismantled. But since then, lavender has become a form of signaling visibility, like being a visibly gay person out in the world. And so we can't talk about the cultural significance of purple without talking about the Purple One, or Prince, who was famous, who is still famous for his testing of gender boundaries and being, open in his bisexuality and so forth. And it's interesting to me that some people say that the association between Prince and purple, it wasn't from his own motivation. It was the media. They were trying to pin something down about him because he was so enigmatic. They couldn't figure him out. But from that grew those symbolic attachments to royalty right there in his name: sexuality, femininity, and decadence. So finally, we have Shikeith with the color Haint Blue. So not just any blue, but this particular shade. Shikeith himself, he was born in Philly in 1989. He studied at Penn State and Yale University, and he's now based in Pittsburgh. He is a photographer, sculptor, installation artist, and he uses Haint Blue in many of his installation works, specifically referencing the history of the Gullah Geechee people. So this color, Haint Blue, is used to protect households from evil spirits, or haints, by tricking them into thinking they are passing over water, which they can't cross, or sky, and so disorienting them. So painting the shutters, doors, the ceilings of porches was a way to ward away evil spirits and misfortune from your home. And so now, in contemporary times, it has been co-opted into almost like just an aesthetic choice. You might see many Pinterest boards with like, why Haint Blue is the perfect color for your feeling, without any reference to the history and like the importance of that. But Shikeith himself uses it in a very intentional way. He says in 2020 on his use of Haint Blue, a significant aspect of my practice is mapping through a language of materiality, the untangling of colonized psyches or Black men's interior worlds. Haint Blue is representative of the ways Black people have reconciled that distinct space in our lives. When present in my work, I am using Haint Blue as a barrier between Black men's psyches and the racist, immaterial presence that haunts us in the afterlife of slavery. So it becomes a psychic ward, almost, protection. You can see some of his works here. The installation on the left, I was fortunate enough to see in person. The whole room is bathed in this blue LED light.
Yeah. Looks amazing.
And so finally, Daniela, would you like to say what we would like people to think about after this lesson?
So with this class and the color theory and thinking about colors and how people use them, we want you to explore, how do you use color in your day-to-day life, and how does that influence your experiences? How can you see color in artworks through the lens of your personal experience as well? So yeah, like, is there something that you use to decorate? Like, is there a color that resonates more around you? And how can color almost give a sense of like familiarity or unity with a piece? Like, what sort of emotion is it trying to convey? These are just some things that you can think about going forth from this class.
And that's all from us for today. You can also enjoy the next project if you'd like.
Yeah, so next week we'll be making dioramas. So dioramas are like a miniature version of a household. And some of the materials that you'll need are glue, markers, pens, scissors, anything and everything. You can have magazines, wrappers, patterned paper, pizza tables, tiny knickknacks, and so forth. A little extra challenge, you can make it restricted on color schemes. Think about those color theories that we talked about today, and yeah, try to make something aesthetically pleasing for yourself, a little home.
Yeah, well, thank you so much again for joining us. I hope you learned a lot today, and check out the artists. We will have links to their work and ArtSphere pages, ArtSphere profiles in the description below.
Yeah. Bye.